Okay, I'm here. I'm here, just fixing some small problem. I was thinking the tablet wasn't working, but I'm here. And let me see the chat. Also here. Perfect. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hello, good morning. Okay. Good morning. So wait. This was old video chat. This is new video chat. Perfect. Hello. Good morning. Hello. Okay, so before we start, as usual, do you have something to ask, doubts, questions, things that you would like to see? Good morning. Good morning. Okay, good morning to you. Good morning. I have a doubt. Everyone has a doubt. Which is yours? Let me see. I had mailed you regarding an issue. When? Because, during the week I have answered to many emails during the week. Last night. Last night I was sleeping though, so for sure I haven't seen your email last night. Last night around 9:30. Of course I haven't seen and I haven't checked. So which is the problem? Tell me, because of course Sunday at 9:30 I don't check my email, and Sunday at 9:30 last thing that I want to do in my life is opening 3ds Max. So when I use ProBoolean to create the seed, segment disappears. It's so simple. So see this. I make an object. I make edge faces. Yes. Let me see. Yes. I understand. So look, let's say you have made this. You have this box. Maybe you have this box that we will use later on. And then I do this first. Look, I select my edit poly modifier. I'm super happy about the fact that I can add a lot of segments. So maybe I use connect. Okay, one by one. It's okay, it has to be inspired. Okay. Okay, one by one. Let's first help Nami, then Stuti. Okay, so first of all, let's say you have all these beautiful segments in here, or maybe you have used cut like that. Perfect. Then it happens that you realize that in your object you need to remove that thing. Okay. So you select these, you go to compound, ProBoolean, you make subtraction, you click start picking, you pick this box, and boom! Whatever you have done before, those beautiful, magnificent, unbelievable edges are gone. Okay? First of all, is this the issue that Naomi has? Is this your problem? And check this. I knew that from your question precisely. I know. So what you have to do is just this. Look. In a lazy answer should be, yes. A lazy answer should be first make your edit poly, then make your ProBoolean. Sorry, or the opposite. Make your ProBoolean first and then the edit poly. But this is not a technical answer. Technical answer, and the one that will leave you speechless, is this instead. If you have this issue, that is, you have made an edit poly and then ProBoolean removes, without even asking, but it removes all of your phenomenal edges, what you have to do is just that. You make your ProBoolean, you go to the Modify tab, and inside ProBoolean, you go down till at the end of the ProBoolean menu you will find advanced options. You open advanced option, and the very last option that you have to set is this one. I will move myself probably if I'm covering, but it is this one. There is something, there is an option called planar edge removal. What you have to do is you go there and you check no edge removal, and this will be the result. So you have your phenomenal editable poly with this part removed, but also you are retaining your cut edges. Okay? Isn't that cool? I know. I mean, it's just one single option. Unfortunately, planar edge removal is always set by default. So each time you need, if you have this issue, you have to uncheck it. It didn't work for me. It is not possible. It is not possible. So you said you sent me an email. By breaking all privacy things, let's see your email. Ah, yes, there is. So let's open this. Open it. Let's see why. Yes, done. Ah, no. No, you should be faster. Yes, done. It worked. I knew it was working. So then I will close this. But I want to show you another thing that is particularly interesting between ProBoolean and okay, the creators. Let me check here if I probably have seen something. Okay, then I want to show you another thing. So for now, I don't need to open your file, and I will close it, because having two 3ds Max running and streaming, it is a little bit too much. Okay, but yes, sorry, but yes, you go here, you go to advanced option, no edge removal, and it perfectly works. Yes. So that was the issue. But I want to show you another thing that is pretty unbelievable. That is pretty unbelievable. That is this. Using material and ProBoolean is something that will leave you speechless, because there are two ways to use ProBoolean, and they are: or you make the entire model first, and then you use editable poly and you use multiple materials. But another interesting thing that you can do, now that we know that we can use materials, is this. Look. So let's delete this. Another interesting thing is that, let's say I have these 3 boxes and I have a sphere. What I will do is I will go to the material editor and I will quickly drag and drop 4 different materials. So let's see if I can quickly use plastic, and I will do smooth black, smooth yellow, smooth red, and smooth green. Okay, so check this. On all my objects, I will apply 3 different materials. So I will use black for the sphere, I will use red, green, and yellow. Okay, so right now I have just these objects, but I have applied the material before. I only deselect edged faces because I just want to see their colors. But see this unreal thing. If I use now ProBoolean, I will see this. Look, I select the sphere, I go to compound, ProBoolean, and I click on, in this case, subtraction. I click start picking, and I pick this object that has my yellow plastic material applied, and see what happens to the sphere. Boom! That part that has been cut by the box that has a yellow plastic material acquires yellow plastic material. And if I keep doing, look, I subtract the red plastic one, boom, this thing acquires red plastic, change this, boom, and I have immediately my sphere with 4 different materials that are coming from original objects that I have mixed inside my ProBoolean. Okay? Just to show you something new, but something that allows you to understand, I mean, honestly, how many unbelievable things you can do in 3ds Max. And this is knowing ProBoolean and materials together. I know, that is too cool. That is too cool. For example, I know that this is really bad and I shouldn't show you this now, but see this. I'm so sad if I hurt your feelings right now, but see this. I make my visible edges, but you need to be ready because this will shock you. So I apply edit poly. I make my inset by polygon, of course, and I extrude all these polygons. I just exaggerate. And I go to the material editor and I give black to the entire box. But then I make this. I make another box in here. I should make 6 of them, but I won't. I will just make 3. So, check this. I will give this box red, this box green, and this box, what is yellow. So now I will select this one. I will go to compound, ProBoolean, start picking. I will pick this, so that I'm cutting those edges and cut faces are acquiring that material. I will also start picking and I will pick this yellow box that is not touching right now my Rubik cube. But as I explained to you when I showed you that with ProBoolean you can make sections, look. I click Operands, I select this yellow box, and now I start moving it to black box. So when my yellow box will start cutting black one, not only it will cut it, but I will also see that where this operation is happening, faces will be turned into yellow faces. Let's see. We are almost there. Ready, steady, go. Fantastic. And if I keep moving my big yellow box down, I will see that this will cut my Rubik cube, and I will see section as that yellow beautiful color. Unbelievable, isn't it? Okay. Now, I know this is too beautiful, but I have to delete it because today our main goal is something completely different. That is, we need to learn how to make our own custom materials. And we have to open our Slate material editor. I will delete some of these materials. For a second, I will just leave this one, just to let you explain something that is simply this. Look. Into the Slate material, we have three simple things to deal with. That are, we can see, let me use the blue color. We can see these elements that have as a color code they are blue. This is the material. And material has certain parameters that can be edited by a map. So that means that they can be managed by using pictures. Or if I double click on the material itself, I will see that sometimes there are certain parameters that are not listed here because they can be managed by using numbers. Okay? But the material itself is a container that describes overall aspect of a surface. There are, into the material, there are these yellow dots. And we need to see that there is only one dot on the right, this one. This is the output. So this is from where I have to drag and drop the material to my object. But the material itself has also input. There are these. These are basically like plugs that are going to receive the informations. In our material editor, we can also see that we have green colored elements, and these are maps. There can be many kind of maps. We will only see pictures. But maps have only the output plug. There is the one that has to be linked to the parameter that you want to control. So this is how a material is made. So just to repeat, material itself contains all parameters. Then it has its output here, and according to how complex the material is, may have more or less input. Then there are maps. And you need to wire maps into material parameters, and you need to wire the material on your objects. This is how material works. And let's delete this beautiful masterpiece. What we need to understand is that when we want to make our own material, we need to start from an empty material, something that has no preset information. And empty materials are in our material map browser. So let me delete now this one. And empty materials are contained into the folder that is called simply materials. So all of these are neutral materials that you can use to start creating your own custom one. And sorry, I've lost this message into the chat. Can we see an example? An example of what? Because I've lost this message. Anyway, for now, let me continue. So I was saying, all these materials are just gray, neutral materials. Some of them are working better than others, some of them are complex, some of them are simple, but there is only one material that allows you to create whatever kind of material you want to use. And the one that I want to show you is called physical material. So we will see how to make our own custom material by using this as a starting template. And for this reason, first thing that we have to do is we have to drag and drop the physical material in here. So, yes. We are creating our own custom material step by step, so not only as an example, but we will do it together today. So, I was saying this. The reason why also I use physical material to explain how to make your own custom material is because in 3ds Max, maybe not now, but in your next future, you may be interested in using other render engines. A lot of people, for example, uses V-Ray, that I don't use. Several people use Corona Render. That is, for example, the one that I use. There is Arnold Render. There is Octane Render. There is Lumion. There are billions of render engine. But what is interesting is that they are just the same in terms of how they work. And for this reason, I like to explain how to use this particular material, because if you understand how to set this one, then the day that someone will ask, make a V-Ray material, make a Corona material, make an Arnold material, believe it or not, they will have same exact functions that we will see into physical material. Exactly the same. And this is the reason why, even if this material is looking a little bit intimidating because it has so many parameters, you have not to freak out, because we will see only more important aspect of the material itself. And we need to see some aspects on the map side and some parameters. So we don't only have to drag and drop our material into the editor, we have also to double click the material itself, and when we double click, we need to check that next to our material there is this clearly visible dashed boundary, because this dashed boundary simply says that parameters that we see here are parameters of our selected material. So, in this screen, let me just scroll down a little bit, exactly, so that I can highlight all parameters that we need to know about a material to start with. I don't know if we will see them all today, but I hope most of them. So what we need to start learning is 1, this rectangle here. This is called base color, and as the name says, this is the overall color of our object. And we have to learn that base color can be managed or by clicking inside this rectangle and by choosing another color, or the base color can be managed by using a map attached to it. So we will see today that we can use a picture and we can attach the picture to our base color map if for our material we want a texture instead of a continuous color. Then we need to see 2 parameters that work together that are called roughness and metalness. Roughness means if an object is reflective or not. To be precise, if an object is glossy or not. And if an object is glossy, what it means is basically that on its surface, we can see reflections. But if an object is rough, so if we increase this parameter, we will see that reflections will disappear till our material will look completely matte. So the higher is roughness, the more matte will be our material. Okay? So let me delete also all these things. I want to delete only this one, actually. Exactly. To keep highlighted parameters. Then we have to see another parameter that is, I will say, self-explanatory. That is transparency. Transparency 0 means our object is opaque. Transparency, the more we increase transparency instead, the more we will be able to see through a material. One day, for sure not today, we will see emission, but I will show you this when we will study lights, because I will show you that you can make a glowing material, but this requires few more information. And then we need to see last parameters. That will be, we need to see what is bump that works in combination with a picture and a parameter here. And we need, again, probably not today, but we need to see also cutout. So these are both 2 parameters that will require pictures to be, not this one, oops, sorry, bump and cutout, but these will be two parameters that will require a picture. And bump works with both, so it requires a picture, but also it has a value to increase or decrease its effect. So these are all things that we need to know about physical material. And let's start from the very basic. So, first of all, I have to create something in my file where I can apply the object itself, the material itself. So I will make a floor, I will make a box. What else? I will make a cone. Fantastic. And then I will drag and drop my material. Just not to the floor, so that you will see the difference. So let's see, first thing, base color. Base color, as you can see, is gray. And if I double click, if I just click, if I change the color in here, I will change main color of my beautiful objects. Okay? This is very basic. I mean, and whenever your material is just a continuous color, this is exactly how to correctly change it. But there are a lot of cases when this is not enough, when we need to have instead textures applied. And we need to understand what exactly is a texture. So, if we go to Google, we need, I will go here later. First of all, we need to see this. Let's say you want to create a certain material. Let's say you want to make a, rug. So you can Google and you can find rug. And if you go to images, you will find a lot of pictures of rugs. But there is a small difference. That is, there are some images like this, let's say. There are images that are flat, that have no perspective. Those can be used as textures. So first of all, when we look for images to make our own materials, so we need always to refine our search by adding at least two extremely important keywords that are. We need to write, also texture, so that we see only images that are flat images, but also because a texture is basically this, is a pattern that is repeated all over our object, we need to add another keyword to our search. That is, we need to add the word seamless. Seamless means that this picture, once that is repeated multiple times along our object, will never show us when the image starts and when it finishes and it starts its second repetition. So, let's say I really like this one. No, it has a watermark. How unfair it is. Let's see this one. I don't know if this is a real seamless texture, but let's see how to use it. First thing that I have to do is, let me also see the chat. Perfect. So first thing that I have to do is I have to right click and I have to save the picture. Whenever you want to use an image, it has to be a real file saved on your hard drive. So I will save this in a texture folder that I have created on my desktop. Perfect. And then check this. Let's close Photoshop for now. We'll go there later on. I have this. I have several pictures, and this is the one that I've downloaded right now. So how to use now this picture instead of the color is very simple. Step number 1 will be I drag and drop the file inside my material editor and I drag and drop it. Then I double click on the picture to see parameters of the picture. And there is only one thing that you need to know, that is 3ds Max imports pictures, and by default it gives pictures always a square size that is 2.54 by 2.54 centimeters. This can be correct if your real picture is about 1 inch of the surface of your material, but if not, what you have to do first is once that you import your picture, you have to double click, go to size and change these according to the size of your real image. Or if you have a rectangular picture that I will show you later, you need to give 2 different values for width and height, because if not, the picture will look distorted. So I set the size, and then I just need to tell 3ds Max that this picture needs to override what is my base color. So I will simply drag and drop a wire from this dot to this dot of my material. So I will connect the picture to the plug that is my base color map. Okay? Till here? Till here? Yes? No? Because we have almost done, I mean, very simple things. But if till here it is fine, we can notice something that is extremely important. That is, in our material editor, we can barely see, but the preview shows us a material with this kind of rug texture, while in our viewport our objects are still this kind of deep dark pink color. Okay, so check this out. Exactly like we used to do last week with library materials, we double select the material, or we double click it, we check show shaded material, so we enable the preview of our own custom material, and bim, bada boom, you will see your phenomenal, and yes, it is basically seamless texture. Not really. I can barely see something here as a repeated pattern, but it's decent. And you can see that you were able to apply your own custom texture to your phenomenal objects. Okay? Can you please explain the size? Okay, I will explain the size again. And for Scarlet, yes, the material that you apply now will replace the one that you have applied before. Yes, for sure. So let's see the size again by using another picture. Let's see which picture I have. Let me see. No, this no. Oh, this one. Perfect. So look, I drag and drop this. I select my rug and I hit delete on my keyboard and I attach this to the base color. But first of all, see this. I have drag and drop this picture, I double click it, and I can see that each time that I drag and drop a new picture, 3ds Max import the size of the picture by being 254 by 254 centimeters. And if I zoom in to my box, I can really see all these tiny tiles. So which should be, by double clicking the picture, which should be the size that I have to write? How can I understand this? It's very simple. And imagine this. I need to think about the picture that I'm using, and I will simply make this consideration. This, as you can see from the gap, this is one tile. And I know that tiles, it will slightly change according if you use metric or imperial system, but more or less it is correct to say that tiles are 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters. So what I can see in this picture is this. In this picture I have 1, 2, but I also have almost an entire tile on top and almost a remaining part of the tile below. So if I count, I can correctly say that in this picture, along this dimension, there are 3 tiles. And I can clearly see that even along this dimension, there are 3 tiles in this picture. So this picture basically is like this. There are 3 tiles along the height, 3 tiles along the width. And if each tile is 30 by 30 centimeters, I will simply say that this is 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30. So I will do it here because that it should be my head on the webcam. 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30. So at the end of the day, the width of my image in reality is 90 centimeters, and the height of my image is 90 centimeters. So I will go on my 3ds Max, I double click the picture and I make size 90 by 90. And you will see that your material will be correctly displayed in your box. Or I will make another example. Look. Let's say I have this box here. And let's say I download a painting texture. Let's see. Now, let's have a Bob Ross. Oh, let's say I like this beautiful painting here, something vertical. Bob Ross. This one. So I download this picture. I save it. No, I want the picture. Save picture. Okay. And I call it Bob Ross. And then check this. But it is horizontal, so I will make my box like that. See this? I make another material. I drag and drop my Bob Ross painting in here. I drag and drop the wire from the painting to base color. I apply, because I pretend that I forgot that I have to set dimension, but I apply the painting material to the painting canvas, and if I select the material and I hit the preview on, I will see this happening. So my picture will be repeated a lot of times along my box, and the size of each repetition of my image will be 254 by 254 centimeters. So in this case, because this is a painting for you, which should be right size to right? Let me see. So for you, now that I select my Bob Ross painting, which numbers I have to type for width and height? Let me see. If you answer correctly, you will have... Oh yes, the size of the wall. Right, so I have to select the wall, or let's say box. I simply copy this value and I paste it here. I copy this value and I paste it here. Ready for this? Boom! And I have my phenomenal painting matching the canvas that I'm using. This is when, for example, if I need to make adjustments into the box, this is the moment where I won't use parameters, because look, if I change this parameter, I have this problem, But this is the exact moment when I will use scale instead, so that the painting remains with these fixed dimensions, and if I use scale, I scale both the material and the box together if I need to adjust the size of the entire painting. Okay? Just to let you understand what the size, how important is the size of a picture when we create our materials. Is that clear? Is size of the picture clear now for all of you? Fantastic! So now, before viewing other parameters, we need to see instead some of those parameters that are in a material. You're welcome. If we increase the size of the JPEG, will it decrease its pixels, resulting it in blurring? If the image has a very, very low resolution, yes. So for 3ds Max, without using crazy resolutions, but you shouldn't use images that are why is not writing anything? It is writing, it's just black. So I'm saying in 3ds Max you shouldn't use images that are less than 480 pixels for their smaller dimension. You don't really need crazy big images. So in a lot of websites you see guys using like 248 pixels, 6,000 pixels. It's just a waste of time. It doesn't really change anything if your texture is at least 480 pixels. But maybe not smaller than that. Okay, but really, no, doesn't have to be crazy big. 480 is more than enough. So, how does the dimension work on spherical objects? It works in a spherical way. So, if you have a spherical object, if it has UVW map, like spherical UVW map, only here in the center of your sphere, this will be the size that you have set. The more you go to upper and lower vertex, the narrower the texture becomes, and even in the horizontal plane, the more you go up, the narrower the texture becomes. But in this center part, this is the sides that you have. By default, this is why you also have UVW map, because even if you have a sphere and then we will see, look, let's say I have a sphere. and I apply the material that I have made with tiles that are square, and they make simple to understand this. So look, you can see that in the center material is fine, but the more I go up, the shorter and the narrower it becomes till it looks like this. Okay? But if you remember, we have a modifier that is called UVW map. So what we can always do is, even if this object has visible texture, we can apply UVW map on it, and we can start using different UVW map. We can choose planar. If we select spherical, it won't change anything. But if we select spherical, for example, we can open the gizmo and we can start rotating our material along the sphere, or we can scale our material along the sphere, or why not, even if this is a sphere, we can set our UVW as a box. And this is why when I explained UVW, I said that 99% of the times box will save your project, because now my beautiful material is uniform in all different sides. Okay? So, by default, it has a certain behavior, but you can control it. Okay? And let's see instead other aspects of a material. So I want to show you roughness and metalness, and by doing these I want just to repeat, I will create another material, but this time I will apply this material to my box only, and I will show you this. Oh, thank you. So let's see this. Let's put also our Bob Ross painting here on a side, and let's see this. There are certain parameters, and especially these parameters that I'm explaining now, they are not more visible just in your viewport. Especially roughness and metalness are two parameters that are only rendering parameters, so they are applied from 3ds Max when you hit render button. Your render button is this thing up here. It is basically looking like a teapot. With a blue lightning symbol. This is render. And if we render our image, we will basically turn our project into a picture, and if we do this, we will see what at the beginning a material that has roughness 0 and metalness 0 looks like. So look, I click render. It's a little bit on the bright side, but it's okay. It's not really okay, because I want to see things better. So let's move them here. Let's see. But I render. Not easy and so on because we haven't. One day we will fix all these when I will show you about lights and rendering. But you can see that this material is not only gray, but in reality it is glossy and it is reflecting things that are in front of it. But these reflections are also looking weird because if you notice, in this front face of my box, the reflection of the painting are barely visible, while in this face of the box, reflection of the floor are perfectly visible. So why this is happening? This is happening because this face is almost parallel to my point of view, and this face instead is basically 90 degrees angled to my point of view. So in nature there are materials that have this effect, and these materials that have reflection amount changing according to from where you look at them, those are called non-metallic. Non-metallic materials are like plastic, rocks, wood, marble, bricks, whatever is not metal or glass, basically. All other materials are called non-metallic. And according to where you look at them, they will appear more or less reflective. So, you can also see that if I change my point of view and I make my point of view so that I will be instead perpendicular to this face and parallel to that, and I render again, you will see that here I have no reflections at all, and this side of my box will start looking very reflective, almost like a mirror. And you can clearly see the reflection of the painting on this face. While when I was parallel to this face, look, a reflection is disappearing. Okay? This parameter is called non-metallic reflection. And in 3ds Max, you have these two numbers that work together. So, parameter number 1, first of all, is roughness. Roughness 0 means my object is, anyway, glossy, so it will reflect. The more I increase till I go to 1, this will be completely matte. And if I make my roughness 1 instead, no matter where I look at my object, but my object will have no reflections at all. It will be like clay, like wall paint, like unfinished wood, no glossy surface at all, because it would be pretty rough. This is why the parameter is called roughness. And you can have several levels of roughness. So let's say if you want to make like rough unfinished wood, you can make it very high. But if you want to make a wooden floor that has some kind of wax on it that makes it shiny, you can make like 0.7. If you want to make shiny plastic, you will make it like 0.2. If you want to make very reflective plastic, you will make it 0, and so on and so on. But this is only roughness. So another parameter that we need to manage is metalness. Metalness instead works like, if metalness is 0, we have seen reflections changing from the angle. But if we increase metalness, let's say to 1, an object that is 0 rough, so it is perfectly glossy, and it is perfectly behaving like a metal reflection, so that no matter from where you look at the object, it will reflect. That is a mirror. And if you check, look, if I render now my view, my box perfectly reflects everything that is in front of it. So don't tell me, Marco, the box is disappearing up here. It's not disappearing. It is reflecting black environment. And if I change my point of view, let's say from here, this will reflect this cone, the floor. If I have a ceiling, it will reflect the ceiling. And if you don't believe me, you can try, because I will make this quick thing. I will just put a lot of boxes like ceilings, like they are beams. So if I render, you will see that, not really. Let's see now. You will see that from this view, the top face of my box will reflect whatever is above the object itself. So it will basically work like a mirror. But again, there are maybe different combinations that you need to create if you want to make different materials. So for example, metalness 1 and roughness 0, so this extreme different combination is if you want to make like a mirror, as I said. But if you want to make something like metal, like aluminum is a material that is, yes, it is reflective, but not as reflective as a mirror. So maybe if I want to make aluminum, I will make roughness, let's say 0.3. But it is still a metal, so I will keep this very high, let's say like 0.85. But then, from this, that was my previous render, where my box looks like a perfect mirror. See how it changes? Just by decreasing a little bit metalness and by increasing a little bit roughness. So I render, and my object will perfectly look like a block of aluminum rather than a mirror. And I can find all different combinations of these two values, and I will create completely different effects. Okay? Is this clear? Let me know. Let's see, because I have to show you last two things for today. Just two. Let's see, let's see, let's see. Perfect. So happy. So, let's see one parameter that technically is too simple instead. That is transparency. Transparency, as I said, let me tell you, it is pretty self-explanatory as a parameter. Transparency 0 means that the object is opaque, but the more you increase it, the more you will be able to see through the material, so you will make it transparent. So, because I like aluminum, let's put, let's say this. Let's make this shape. Look, I will make a very thick L-shaped object, and I'm saying very thick. I will use edit poly. I will use extrude. I will give UVW map box, super happy, and I will make another material. Again, just to repeat. So I put another material. I apply this material to my very thick object, and I will change only transparency, and I will set it to 1. Oops, made the mistake. Is this one. So I double click it, change transparency, and you will see this in your viewport. The object will look like semi-transparent, but I want to see what really happens when I render. So I render, and I will see these weird looking effect. Let me remove now, because these were useful just to show you reflections. But if I render, you will see this. You see something weird, that is, you see this kind of cone placed here, the box. I mean, you cannot really see through this thick object, and the reason is because transparency is a physically correct phenomenon, and it is physically correctly simulated in 3ds Max. It happens that because my object is thick, the object works like a glass lens, like a prism, and it distorts whatever is behind the glass. So when you use transparency, you need to be so nice to use realistic dimensions for your transparent materials, and only then you will see realistic behaviors happening as well. So if for you this was a glass building or something like that, in reality it's not the entire building made in glass, but each face is made in glass. So if you want to obtain something like this in reality, in 3ds Max, you should do this. You should have a box in here, and I will make its thickness 0.5 centimeters, let's say it because it is 5 millimeters. Then I will make my thin line. But because making it thin takes forever, maybe someone has explained that you can use spline, that you can use outline. Okay, and I will make an outline of 5 millimeters, so very thin. And maybe I will extrude this one then. And I will apply also UVW map because when I use extrude, there is not. Then if I want to make the top, no problems. I will make the top as well. I will close these. Let's say I move this piece up. But again, to make it solid, I will use extrude. But I will extrude it 0.5 millimeters. So there is a realistic thickness for glass. And just in case I apply UVW map box. So now, let's see. I mean, there are missing pieces, but just to give you the idea. I select these 3 elements. I apply my transparent material to the selection. And if I render, it's not that clear because I've made the mistake of applied aluminum. I have to apply my transparent material. I'm so sorry. So I render now. And now, yes. And now this beautiful thing works like realistic glass. Can you see also these beautiful black edges that are like real glass panels show you? But because I'm using real dimensions, also my transparency is working as it should be. Okay? But sometimes you don't need to make just clear glass. Maybe you need to make like colored transparent materials. Where is the problem? You change the color into your color parameter. And if you want just to make maybe green. But even if I make green, if transparency is 1, it will be fully transparent. So having something that has colors while is transparent requires you to change the color and decrease a little bit of your transparency. Then you render and you have your transparent as well as colored magnificent material appearing. Okay? Yes? No? Maybe? For transparency? Oh, thank you so much, Scarlett. Because if transparency is fine, I need perfect. I need to explain another material, and this one, well, another parameter of the material, and this one may be a little bit tricky, just because it's first time that you see these things. So let's see. Okay, the chat is giving me just positive feedback, and I can't be as happy as I am now. So let's see this last thing for today. So let's create another material. Why not? Okay, and now I will also Yes, I will also create another object, and let's make it round so that it is more visible. This one. Okay. So look, I apply this last new material on my sphere. I also want to make it matte because I don't want to have interference. I want you to focus on this last parameter. And if I render, I will simply see that my sphere is just gray. Not that exciting, no? Just this gray, perfectly matte surface. But it is smooth. So, check this unbelievable parameter. There is a parameter that is called bump. Bump is a parameter that involves two elements of my material, because bump first requires a picture, but also the intensity. So how this parameter, how this effect will be visible, depends also on this value that you find into your parameter, into your material parameters. So the bump with the value only won't do anything. It requires a picture to be applied. But there is a twist. That is, you can't use whatever image you want. In reality, bump maps must be in grayscale. So there has to be pictures that are going from deep black to super bright white, but with no color informations on them. And look, I will first show you what bump does, and then I will explain better why black and white. So look, let's see, I go to Google, I look for seamless bump texture, and you can see that 99% of the result shows me black and white pictures. I don't know what this thing is about, but I like it, and I want to use this picture here. No, yes, this one. So I right click, I save this picture in my texture folder. Okay, now I will follow same steps that I've done before. That are, I simply drag and drop, where is here, the picture in my material editor. I double click on the picture. Here, in reality, I have not a honest reason why I changed the dimension, but I feel like 20 by 20 should work fine for no real reason. And I connect this picture to my bump map parameter. Okay? And I think I've already applied the material. If not, I apply it again. But now, check this. Because my previous render was this, with my gray sphere looking perfectly smooth, now that I am using bump, I should see a completely different result. Let's see if it is true. So I render now. And honestly, I don't see any difference. Why? Let me zoom in. Probably dimension is simply still too small. Okay, so look. I double click. I make it 60 by 60. I render again. Ooh, fantastic! And look at the surface of my object. Can you see that now it is not more just smooth and polished, but it has this kind of detail. This detail is given by the bump texture, and it has to be a black and white simply because for 3ds Max, black and white means depth. So where my image is black is where you see grooves pushed inside the sphere. Where my picture is white, instead is where you see elements that are lifted a little bit above the surface of my sphere, but it is in a micro detail level. So just select another picture just to see the difference. Let's say which one? Is this seamless? Probably yes. There's a little bit of watermark, but it's okay. So I use this one. iStock photo, okay. So I just drag and drop it into 3ds Max. I double click it and I change its dimension. And again, this right now has not really a very precise reason. I guess again 60 by 60. And I will delete the previous and I will use this one. Okay. So now, if I render, let's see this completely different result by using this pattern here. So I render. Boom! And now I have this phenomenal result of having this different pattern into my surface. Okay? Is that clear what bump does? I can show you another example, but this time, before I show you this, do you know a little bit of using Photoshop or not? Just a little bit. How to open it, close it, and how to draw black and white lines into Photoshop. Do you know very a little bit of Photoshop or not? Tell me yes. No. You don't know Photoshop. This is dramatic. Photoshop, the easiest software ever created into the planet. Ouch. No. That is so sad. So, I will show you Just two things that you should learn in Photoshop. Also because you can download it as students, you can buy it for a very, very, very cheap also. At least these simple things. Look. At least. I can make, not that big, this one. I can just make a new file, and in Photoshop I can paint things. So I will do something like this. I will draw. Then I'm using Photoshop, but believe it or not, you can use any other similar software that allows you to make colors, Illustrator, even Windows Paint. I can make it like this. Okay. Then I will just draw it like that. I don't know if it would be seamless, but I don't really, not really interested. I will make it seamless because I will simply fill. I will fill these areas with black. Okay. So just make everything black. Okay, and I will finish painting this. I will paint it here. Where is? Paint. Okay. Why is not painting anymore? Here. Normal, positive, flow, smooth. It's okay. So, see this. I will save this as a JPEG. I will call it my own bump, even if I don't like it, because I have to fix, sorry, a second, this line here. Okay. Perfect. Anyway. Okay. And then let's see if now it works. Sorry. I was pressing with my elbow. I was pressing a key. This is why it wasn't working. Sorry. So, let's say I've painted these. Okay. And maybe I also add something like that, like a crack. And another one in here, and the one in there. Something like this. Nothing crazy, but I just save this. If I go to 3ds Max, look, I drag and drop this image on my material. I will delete previous one. I will use bump with my own, but I double click it, and for me this is like the dimension of one tile, so I will make it 30 by 30 centimeter, and look, I render, and this will be the result. I have all these particular detail attached to my beautiful material. What you can see is that this result is very, very small in terms of depth. So this is why the bump also has a parameter. That means there is also bump number. This must be changed after using a map, and what it does is basically, if you increase this number, the depth of your bump will be increased. So let's say we'll make 1.2 or the opposite. But if I want to make a very deep bump effect, I increase that number, I render, and I will see that my bump effect goes more into depth. Okay? And before moving on, I want to show you another thing, that is, you really need to use Photoshop or learn the basic, simply because if you have a JPEG that is used as a map and also opened in Photoshop, see what you can do. Let's say I can crop this part to make black part a lot less than before. I press enter, and I save my image. Then not only I paint something else, like exactly, I paint M in my bump map. When I save from Photoshop, believe it or not, in 3ds Max there's nothing that you need to do. Your image is already updated, and if you just render again, you will see now that your bump map will be completely different. But one of your classmates asked, can we add color? And the answer is, you can add color for sure, but not in this file. So what I will do is, I will simply save this file just with another name, and instead of my own bump, I will call it my own color, and you will see why in a second. So what I will do here will be, I will start having fun, like I will start painting here, painting there, painting here. I can put some pictures. I can change the color. Just make the brush bigger. I mean, this is not a professional way to use 3ds Max. I'm just painting colors, but what I want to show you is another color. Okay, green, perfect. Then I have these. Okay, and then let's use blue, and I have blue in here, blue there. Perfect. And I save these as my own color. So now, look, I will drag and drop this picture into 3ds Max. But this is with colors, and the color parameter is managed by base color, so I drag and drop it and I connect it to base color. I also give, because it comes from the same picture, I also give same size to my color map. And if I want, I can also turn on the preview of my material to show you that this will be the color. But I have a material that has the color and the bump, so when I will render, final result will show me the color plus those particular interesting three-dimensional effects on the surface of my material. And you can add a lot of realism in your materials by doing this. Okay? Does it work? Yes? No? Maybe? Also, I'm saying Photoshop, but you can use, as I said, many other softwares that are very similar. There is also a software that is like Photoshop, and it is 100% for free. It is called GIMP, I think you say. A software called GIMP is a clone of Photoshop, but it is 100% for free. So it doesn't even involve any money in these, but it works the same, and you can make same effect. It can work only with JPEG. The answer is yes and no. So in 3ds Max, you can load a variety of pictures. Bitmap, TIFF, PNG, PSD, I don't know, even movies. But this particular interaction, so having a file opened at the same time with Photoshop and with 3ds Max, yes, this happens only with JPEG, because other files can be opened by one software at a time. So if you are using a bitmap or a TIFF file as a texture, you can't also manipulate in real time with Photoshop. So where can we upload the homework? In the same exact folder where you have uploaded all of your other previous homeworks, I will say. So I will show you something fantastic, that is, because this is a common question. That is, a lot of students used to ask me, where is the folder? Where is the folder? And I will show you something that will change your life forever. That is, your folder is always this one, the one where you have uploaded all of your other homeworks, homework 6, homework 7, homework 5, and so on and so on. So I will paste the link in here, but when you go to this folder, you can do something unbelievable. That is, you go here once, and then you can click this little star so that you add this folder to your favorite address. And in this way, you will save this folder whenever you need to go there. You have it in your favorite address bar. Boom! And you can reach it each single time that you have to upload your homework. I won't add it because... Okay? Perfect! So for now, this is enough. This week you have no particular homework because you should try to make practice with these simple techniques, make your own materials, and work a little bit on your final project. Maybe it would be better. And next week we will start from here, and I will have to explain how to use 3D blocks. I will start lights as well. Okay? And now I have also to prepare lunch. So we will see next week at same hour, and as usual, have fun, but not too much. Okay? Perfect! Have a lot of fun with materials, and we will see you next week. Bye, everyone. Let me stop here. Bye, everyone.